Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Challa Krishnaveer Abhishek, Executive Director, Dean Van Leeuwen Center for Peace Studies. I'm also a professor and a dean. So today we have with us Professor Matt Perelstein. He is the CEO of EQ for Peace Worldwide in US and also the president of Dean Van Leeuwen Center for Peace Studies in Andhra University. Welcome, Matt. A very happy New Year 2025.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm in California, USA, and it'll be New Year's in about 2 hours. So we're almost there. Yep.
So it's already,
Looking
it's
forward.
already 12 hours. It's we are in 2025 since past 12 hours. So for the past 12 hours,
Yeah.
we're in 2025. So we are already in the new year and we're having a blast. So I wish
Okay.
that this new year becomes a year of peace. So a peaceful year. So that is what
Yes.
both inner peace and outer peace. Because
Yes.
external
Yes.
peace is also very, very important and vital because we are in the crossroads currently, a lot of international disputes. And I hope and I pray and I strive to work for external peace also. And for external peace, I strongly believe that we have to be peaceful inside also. That is very, very important.
First.
And at this
First. Yes.
juncture, today being January 1st in India,
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah.
31st, 2024, you are in 2024, you're in the past. I'm in the future, I'm in 2025. Now, from future,
Wow.
I wanted to ask my past a question on inner peace. So
Okay.
there's one condition, Professor Matt, that youngsters especially are suffering. That is called stress. That is because of stress. There are a lot of stressors that is causing this, which is called panic
Yeah.
and anxiety. So suddenly, youngsters nowadays are getting panic attacks. And most of the attacks are actually not physiological, but they're psychological.
Mm.
If they were physiological, we can give them a medicine or we can do something, we can cure that ailment. Because they're psychological, what these youngsters are doing is they're completely making themselves dependent on antidepressants.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, they
Yep.
don't need antidepressants. Antidepressants are very, addictive. Once you depend on them, you depend on them for life, unfortunately. So,
Some people
so
need them, but most people don't.
most deep people don't, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So this is not a
Yeah.
physiological condition for most people. It's a psychological and a mental condition. So at a moment when a person suffers from panic and anxiety, their heart rate rises. They don't know what to do. They breathe. Their breathing increases. Breathe at a very fast pace, and they don't know what to do. They suddenly lose
Yeah.
control of their body.
Yeah.
So at this
Freak out.
juncture, instead of taking a medicine, I want them to take a placebo called inner peace, a placebo. Uh,
Okay.
So, uh, so can you suggest a technique of inner peace for people, for youngsters especially, who suffer from psychological panic and anxiety?
Um, well, my personal belief is that there are some people, like you said, some people do need it. Some people, it is a physiological problem, and there are things in their brain that aren't working right, and the chemicals in their body aren't working right, and so it does require and would be helpful to have medication. And whether or not you're on medication, I think you need to figure out yourself, learn about your inner world, and be able to create some inner peace, like you said, whether you're on medication or not. So you don't just depend on it and go, okay, well, I'm on these meds, so it's going to fix everything. That's probably not going to work. So that's where you get dependent on it because I got to have this or I can't handle myself. So I think let's talk about that, but we have some skills and some concepts and some ideas of how to create inner peace inside of ourselves so that we can handle our fears, we can handle our anger, we can handle our sadness, all of those, and function and not freak out. There's flight, fight, uh, and freak out. Freeze, that's the other one. Fight, flight, freeze, and freak out. And people just, if you don't know how to handle your fear and it gets so big, it just, your body just, and you can't think anymore. Emotions get super high, no logic anymore, and it doesn't go well, right? Yeah. Oh, okay. So you want me to keep going?
Yes. So
So,
basically, Matt,
okay.
so personally, I want to narrate an experience that I had. So,
Okay.
I was in some distress, and suddenly, whenever I'm in distress, what happens with me is gas suddenly develops in my body, in my system, gastritis, and I start to burp, and suddenly heart rate rises,
Okay.
and my breathing becomes rapid. And during that time, generally, there's a medication called alprazolam that I generally alprazone that I take, but it's not necessary.
Okay.
When I understood that it's not necessary is, you know, uh, I was in my room, and I didn't have the medication. I didn't have those pills, and nobody was at the home at during that time when I had the panic attack. I was burping, I was burping, I was burping, I was burping. I had all the symptoms, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where the medication is. I didn't know whether it's there or not. Even if it's there, I didn't know where it is, and I didn't have time to search for it. And nobody is at
Okay.
home. Nobody is available for me, to me, so that they can bring some medication. Nobody is available at home. Nobody is available to assist me or help me. So at this juncture, what I did was I played a soothing music,
Nice.
and then I closed my
Nice.
eye and I just focused on the soothing music. And after 15
Right.
minutes, everything was gone. I was completely normal
Nice.
and calm. And
Nice.
I
Way to go.
understood that I don't need the medication.
Yay. Break the need. Good, good, good. That's beautiful. There's a bunch of things like that. Get focus on your breathing, count. Um, uh, like I said, but there's a thing called box breathing. Breathing. Have you heard of that? You
Yes.
count to four. You inhale for four, and then you hold it for four, and then you exhale for four, and then you hold it for four. And so it's a box, four, 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 four. And if when you start thinking about your breathing, it brings you back into the present. It calms your mind down a little bit because you're thinking about this thing that you're really good at that you already know how to do.
Yes.
It takes your mind off of some of whatever you were freaking out about, and it helps you get into ground yourself and to come back into the present and things kind of settle down. And so, because our emotions get really high and we don't know, then we can't really function very well. We can't think very well. So, if we can settle ourselves even for a few seconds, like the largest EQ trainer in the world is called 6 seconds. The reason it's called 6 seconds is because they found out scientifically that when your emotions get really high, if you just let it go for 6 seconds and anything settle down, and now you can think again, so you can respond rather than react, right? Respond rather than react. And respond means putting some sense in it, some logic in it, some sense in it, instead of just reacting to whatever. Freaking out, I call it. That's what it is. Panic attack.
So
So,
when I messed up my system during 2019, this my stint with dysphagia. So when I was coming out of dysphagia, I had something called phagophagia. Phagophagia is fear of swallowing. So now,
uh,
I have the ability to swallow, but I fear swallowing because I've taken a long break of swallowing solid food from swallowing solid food. So now, I developed a fear of swallowing. Even if I swallow, I thought, the food would get stuck in my throat and I can't breathe. I would choke. A lot of thoughts were coming to my mind. So I was whenever food went into my mouth, whenever I was chewing, I was in panic because of not because of dysphagia, but because of phagophagia. Means it's not because of
uh,
impaired swallow, it's because of fear of swallow, the
okay.
panic that is associated with swallow. So
Yep.
I understood that it's not about dysphagia, it is about overcoming the fear, the phobia that is causing the panic.
Yes. Yes.
And once I overcame it, I understood that there is nothing. Once I overcame the panic, I was able to swallow normally. It was just a normal process. And my mind
Right.
actually disturbed it. It's not my body that
Yep.
disturbed it, it's my mind that disturbed my body. So
Yep.
I
Yep.
understood that the medication should not be for my body, but for my mind. And it should not be a pill, but it should be my thoughts of inner peace.
Yep.
Because
Cool.
I believe that pills like coffee, like energy drinks, are addictive. But your thoughts, no, they are
Yeah.
not addictive because you change your thoughts regularly. And, if you're able to control your thoughts, no, that then there's one symbolism there's one Indic god. In that Indic god, she holds seven dogs. Okay, she rides a chariot with seven dogs. So what are those seven dogs? The chariot is pulled by those seven dogs. Okay, so what are the seven dogs? Your five sense organs, your mind and body. So
Hmm.
the God is controlling your five sense organs and your mind and body. And who is that God? The God is you yourself. Krishnoham, Shivoham. Shivoham means I am God. And I am God. My mind is God. My intellect is God, which is controlling those five sense organs and mind and body. So that's how we can get into inner peace. So so
Cool.
that's how I got into inner peace. When I worked out my way to from these stressors. And once I found out that there's nothing in it, I'm unnecessarily, all this while I was just scared of nothing. I feared about nothing. There was one incident about my friend. He had fear of flying. He always used to take train or bus.
Yeah.
But once he boarded a flight, his perception completely changed. Once you face your fear, your perception will change. It's the moment, the fear will only remain until you face it, is what I strongly believe. And that's how you can get rid of panic. That's my experience. So what is your take on it?
Well, what I hear you saying is that your thoughts can, what we found is your thoughts come first usually. So
Yes.
if you're having fear, if you're having panic attacks, if you're afraid, check out what your thoughts are telling you. What are you thinking? What are you telling yourself? What are you telling your body? And like you're saying, I'm afraid that I'm not gonna be able to swallow, that I'm gonna start choking, that I'm
Yes.
not gonna be able to breathe right, that kind of thing. So those are thoughts. Then that causes your fear, and it causes your throat to constrict, and it causes your heart rate to go up, and it causes all these other things. But those are thoughts. And the cool thing about thoughts is that you can change them. You can change them. You notice them, become aware of them, accept what is happening inside of you. Awareness, acceptance, action. Become aware of them, accept what's
Yes.
going on, and then
And
take some
act.
action and go, you know what? I don't like that thought. I don't agree with that thought. That's probably not going to happen. I'm going to change that thought into a better thought, which will make me feel better. And I can do all of those things without anybody or anything. It's very cool. It's kind of magical, actually.
Wonderful, wonderful, man. Because I
And your
believe
thoughts
that
can
your
really change.
thoughts are your friends. At the same time, your thoughts are also your worst enemy. So they are like
They can
frenemies,
be.
friend and enemy.
Yep.
So it depends on your intellect on how you can mold your thoughts.
And you can mold your thoughts. That's the big thing about that, is that I don't think most people know that, is that you're in charge of what you think, and you're in charge of what you feel. Nobody makes you angry, nobody hurts your feelings, nobody scares you. They do what they do. Our thoughts about what they're doing, that's what gets us afraid, or that's what gets us angry things. And we can change those. We can change them because we made them in the
Definitely,
first
we can
place.
change.
Yes, I call it emotional responsibility.
There's
Go
one
ahead.
slogan by Barack Obama, his political slogan called "Yes, we can."
Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
we can change.
That's like that. Yeah. People think that the outside world made me angry, or this did it to me, or it's my parents, or the economy, or my teachers, or my mom, or whatever it is. That's what making me angry. That's what the problem is. And if they change, then I'll be okay. Well, maybe they will, maybe they won't. But the reality is that I thought what I thought about what happened. That's the problem. That's where
Yes.
and I have power. I call it POWA, power. I have the power. I
Power.
can change it. Yeah, that's right. Because I made him in the first place. That was the best news I ever got, was that knowing that I was in charge of me. Call it
True.
internal locus of control.
Yes.
I'm
That's
in
very,
charge
very important,
of.
man. We believe that we can control the external world, but it's the internal world that we can actually control. And based on that, we can mold your thoughts and become happy. That there's in Telugu, we have actually a saying. It's like, the meaning of the saying is that, actually the lotus blooms in dirty water.
Oh,
So even, even if you are filled with panic, if you're filled with negativity, even your external world is not conducive, still you can blossom like a lotus, because a lotus
oh,
blooms in dirty water
uh,
only.
uh,
So
only.
you can
Okay.
bloom, even if your
Okay.
surroundings are not good, but still, if you can make up your minds and if you can make up your mind and thoughts, you can bloom like a lotus.
Uh, that's cool. I like it. Very good.
So
So
any
there's other things we could,
concluding
yeah,
thoughts,
there's
Matt?
other things we could do. Medicate. We could do meditation. We could do hypnotherapy. We could do yoga. We can do, like you said, soothing music. We could go to sleep for a while. We could do some exercise. We could go to therapy. We could do hypnotherapy, where you change some things and go into your past and find out where all the source of this and where things came from. Work on your triggers, things that affect you. That, well, when that happens, that's what like you said, when you start to eat, that's your trigger. And that is your body that's went, hey, wait a minute, this is not a good idea, right? This is going to happen. So we can work on some of that stuff and work on removing the triggers to those. So there's a lot of things we can do.
True, man. Because I believe that we all dwell in the past, which is filled with regret and guilt. So we are
Sometimes,
melancholy and all. But we have to be in the present, because present is a gift.
uh, right. And
There's a
and
beauty.
fear, though, fear usually is about the future. Fear is about the future, usually
Future.
what's going to happen. We're not afraid of something what already happened. We're
Mhm.
afraid of what's going to happen.
What's gonna
And
happen? Yes.
so same thing is that the breathing and the calming music and the slowing yourself down and the counting to 10 or counting to at least six is brings us back into the present, like I said. And sometimes that's it's not happening. It's not happening. I'm afraid of what's going to happen, but it's not really happening. And so if I can bring myself in the future into the present, I'm go, oh, it's not happening yet. It's not happening. So it's okay.
Wonderful.
Calm yourself.
So mindfulness is very, very important.
Mindfulness is very important.
That, that's
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 very true.
wonderful, man.
And it
So any
brings us,
concluding words, any concluding statement,
yep,
man?
just that it brings us peace to know ourselves, to be able to manage ourselves, in particular our negative emotions. We call them negative. That's not a good word, because all emotions are good. All emotions are information and energy, and they're our body's way of telling us, giving us messages and information. So they're good, but some of them are not much fun. Fear, anger, sadness, those guys, anxiety, guilt, shame, those are not much fun. And so we call them negatives. And if we can deal with our negative emotions, if we can deal with our negatives, we can create so much more positive.
True.
We can have a much better life. We can, and when that to me gives that for me was the turning point that gave me so much more inner peace, is that I know that I can manage me. I know that whatever comes at me, if I can handle my negative emotions, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. If I can handle my fear, anger, and sadness, I'm going to be okay.
Wonderful, man. So it's like from
Yes.
panic to peace through your power.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, with power. I have the power. Yes, yes, yes. And you do. And then you just practice getting better at managing it, adjusting it. I call it spin it to win it. You got
Yes.
a horrible thought, you notice it, you become aware of it, accept it. Oh, I don't want that thought. I'm going to make a new thought, and you spin it, you change it, and then you'll feel better
True,
almost
true.
instantly.
It's most of it is actually it's our imagination. It's a fiction,
Yeah,
because sometimes
yeah,
we imagine too many things, but it goes
yep,
into the negative side, unfortunately,
yep,
because of the
yep.
wrong imagination. We tend to panic a lot because we expect a negative outcome,
Right.
unfortunately.
Yes, and there's a there's a name for that where where a psychological term where you automatically think the most negative thing first. And so if you know you're going to do that, I mean, seriously, one of my mentors, Doc Downey, he's a therapist for 40 years. He calls it having a dirty, rotten, pooty doo attitude. It just means I know it's his funny way to put it, but it just means that you think the most negative thing first a lot of times. And if you're aware of that, then you can go, hey, that was a terrible thought. You could watch this thought go by and you could just let it go on and go, that was a stupid thought. I don't like that thought. I'm going to have a different thought. And you make a new one. You make a new one and you feel better. It's very cool.
Yes, yes, but some of it
And
stems
knowing
from the
yourself is
experience.
the key.
Some of it
Yeah.
stems from the experience, but most of it is conditioning, how we are conditioned from
Uh,
the society,
yep.
unfortunately.
That too. Yep. Yep. Yep.
So
And how we
wonderful,
train
Matt.
ourselves and how we talk to
It's
ourselves and some of the issues that we've never dealt with and some of the pain and stuff that we have in our body and that we're afraid of our own fear, we're afraid of our own anger, and that's
yes.
no fun. If we
It's
get
it's
good
it's
at
very
us,
difficult
we get the
for
better we get
most people.
at
It's
good at us, the more inner peace we can have.
true, true. It's for most people. It's very difficult to confront. The first step itself is the most difficult step, but from the second step, it just goes with the flow. So that breaking the
Yeah,
ice, confronting the situation, is
there
I
you go.
believe is the
Face it.
ice breaking thing that is very, very important. That will completely change people's perspective.
Yep. And then
Oh,
there's some therapy and personal growth that says if you want to get through your fears, you do what you're afraid to do. You just do
true,
it over and over again until it doesn't
true.
bother you anymore. It's called exposure therapy or immersion therapy, and
Okay.
you just do what you're afraid to do over and over again until it doesn't bother you anymore. It's a very painful way to do it, but it's actually pretty
Until
effective
until
with people.
until it becomes
It's
a
used a
habit.
lot.
Unless and until it
Yeah,
becomes a
yeah,
habit.
yeah. There you go. There you go. A new habit, a better
A
habit, a
better
more
habit.
positive habit, because you get in the habit of freaking yourself out with your thoughts, and you're like, no, 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 I can do better than that.
True, true, Matt. Wonderful, wonderful, Matt. Thank you so much. We deem it an honor, and I believe that it's an excellent start, enlightening start to a new year, 2025. And
Yeah.
I believe that there's more great information to come from you. And I wish that our venture, our Dean Van Leeuwen Center for Peace Studies and EQ for Peace, they go to greater heights, and we rock and
There you
change the world.
there you go. It's kind of magical how it's happened so far, and I think it's going to continue. And
True,
the energy is just right, and this is the right time. People are now realizing how little they know about their emotions,
true, true.
and it's unfortunately the reason they're finding that out is because things are so bad. The suicide
Yes,
rate is so high, the divorce rate, the abuse and war, and all yucky stuff,
my
and
God.
people are going, "Wow, this is awful." And it's based on our emotions. So much of it is based on our emotions, and so much of it is based on us not knowing how to deal with our emotions. So now people are starting to go, "Hey, this is important," and we're both going, "Yeah, no kidding, really." So let me explain what we know about this because we've been working on it for a while. So
True,
it's a
true, true.
beautiful situation that we're in to be able to share with people and help them.
Yes. Wonderful, wonderful, Matt. Thank you so much. Adios.
All right. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Great work
Happy
with
New
you,
Year.
bud.
See you, man. Take care. Thank you so much. See you again.
Okay. Next year.